It was past 2 a.m., and the mansion stood in silence. The kind of silence so thick you could almost hear it breathing. Most of the house staff had long since retired to their quarters. Lights were off, curtains drawn, and the cold marble floors echoed only memories of the day. But one light, dim and flickering from the far end of the west wing, refused to die down. Up on the third floor, tucked away in a corner usually reserved for storage and old furniture, a soft rustling could be heard, pages turning, pencils scratching. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, her uniform slightly wrinkled, was a girl no one paid much attention to during the day. Her name was Anna, just 19, quiet, respectful. The kind of girl who kept her head down, did her work, and never asked for more than what was given. But tonight, something in her had sparked. Books surrounded her like a fortress. Borrowed, old, some torn at the edges. A single desk lamp, its wire taped more times than she could count, lit up her tired but focused eyes. Her hand moved fast, copying from a thick textbook with tiny letters and no pictures. She whispered definitions under her breath, trying to memorize them. Her shift had ended hours ago. She should have been asleep. But dreams like hers didn't wait for permission. Unbeknownst to Anna, someone else was awake. In another part of the house, in a room that looked more like a modern palace than a bedroom, Alexander Reed couldn't sleep either. Billionaire, tech mogul, and the kind of man people wrote headlines about. Some called him genius, others ruthless. But what most didn't know was that Alex had his own history with sleepless nights. He'd returned home unexpectedly after a cancelled overseas trip. The staff didn't expect him. That's probably why the house wasn't perfectly in order, and why a faint trail of light caught his attention as he walked past the corridor. He paused. It was unusual. He knew this house inside out. That light wasn't supposed to be on. He followed it quietly, barefoot, wearing a gray t-shirt and pajama bottoms, far from the powerful image the world knew. And when he reached the door to the old storage room, he stopped. Through the slight opening, he saw her. A girl in a maid's uniform, huddled over books, eyes wide with concentration. For a moment he said nothing. He just watched. Then he knocked once. Anna's heart jumped. She scrambled to close the book, hide the papers, anything. Her hands shook. I'm sorry, sir," she stammered as the door opened. Alex stepped inside slowly. His brows furrowed in confusion rather than anger. He looked around at the books, the notes, the cheap lamp barely holding on. "What are you doing?" he asked, not harshly. "Just curious. I was just studying," she replied, barely able to meet his gaze. "I'll clean it up." "I didn't mean. You work all day. When do you sleep?" She didn't answer. Alex looked down at the stack of textbooks. Biology, English, something about entrance exams. He picked one up and turned a few pages. It reminded him of a version of himself from years ago. Desperate. Hungry to change his life. But the difference? He had the money. She had nothing but determination. "You want to go to school?" he asked after a long silence. Anna swallowed hard. "I'm trying to prepare for the college entry test. I just thought maybe if I studied at night when no one noticed, I could apply next year." There was something in her voice. Shaky, yes, but full of quiet fire. Alex had spent years surrounded by people who faked passion to impress him. But this girl, she meant every word. He didn't say much after that. Just looked at her for a moment, nodded slowly, and left. Anna sat frozen, unsure if she just ruined everything. Would she be fired? Reprimanded? Was studying even allowed during off hours? Her heart pounded so loud she could hear it echo. The next morning came with a strange stillness. She kept her head down, did her chores, avoided eye contact. The other maids laughed in the kitchen, chatting about celebrity gossip and what they'd do if they were rich. Anna scrubbed the kitchen floor, her thoughts tangled in worry. Just before noon, one of the senior staff approached her. "Mr. Reed wants to see you," the woman said. No smile. No explanation. Anna's hands went cold. She wiped them on her apron and followed the long hallway to the main office. Her legs felt heavy with each step. The last time someone was called in like this, they were never seen again. She knocked on the heavy oak door. "Come in," said the voice inside. She pushed it open slowly. Alex sat behind a large desk, sunlight spilling through the tall windows behind him. He looked different today, alert, focused, but not unkind. "I did some reading," he said, gesturing toward the papers in front of him. "About the test you're preparing for." Anna blinked, confused. "I want to ask you something," he continued, leaning forward. "If you had the chance to leave this job today and study full-time, free of charge, would you do it?" She stared at him, unsure if she'd heard him right. Her lips parted, but no words came. He smiled faintly, almost like he knew how surreal it sounded. "Think carefully, Anna. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering investment. In you. Because you remind me of something I forgot a long time ago." She took a step forward, then stopped. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why me?" Alex looked down at the papers again, then back at her. "Because at 2 a.m. when the world was asleep, you were awake. Trying." But what Anna didn't know was that this offer, this moment, was about to pull her into something far bigger than she ever expected. Not just college, not just books, but a decision that would test who she was at her core. And what Alex didn't expect was how much this choice would cost him. Everything was about to change. But neither of them saw what was coming next. Anna stood frozen, the offer echoing in her ears. Her heart raced, not from fear anymore, but from something heavier, harder to explain. Oh, a strange, cautious kind of hope that felt too good to be real. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything yet," Alex replied, his voice calm. "I just want you to think about it. You don't have to decide now." Anna gave a slow, uncertain nod. Her thoughts were spinning. Why would a billionaire offer something like this to her? Just because he saw her studying once. Didn't make sense. Nothing about this made sense. She returned to her chores that day, but her routine felt different. Every mop stroke, every dish washed, every trip up and down the stairs, it all floated through a haze of confusion. She couldn't concentrate. She kept replaying his words, trying to figure out if there was a catch. Because in Anna's world, nothing ever came without one. Later that evening, after dinner service ended and most of the staff went back to their quarters, Anna stayed behind. She wandered into the empty dining room, staring at the long table that glittered under the chandelier. She had served food at this table 100 times but never sat at it. Never imagined she could be anything more than someone who walked around it with a tray. A soft voice behind her startled her. "You look like someone trying to see the future in a reflection," said Mrs. Patel, the head housekeeper. A kind woman in her 50s who had worked in the Reed mansion for over 2 decades. She didn't speak much, but when she did, it always meant something. Anna quickly turned, trying to hide her thoughts. "Just cleaning up," she mumbled. Mrs. Patel smiled gently. "I heard Mr. Reed spoke to you." Anna stiffened. "It's not what you think," Mrs. Patel added, almost reading her mind. "He doesn't make offers like that to just anyone." "You think I should take it?" Anna asked, her voice low. Mrs. Patel walked over and picked up a napkin from the table, folding it neatly. "What I think doesn't matter. But I'll tell you this. Years ago, Mr. Reed's mother worked as a cleaner too. Single mom. Couldn't afford to send him to school, but he studied in secret. At night. After her shifts. Just like you." Anna blinked, surprised. She'd never heard anything about his past. Online articles only showed the polished version. The yachts, the awards, the tech conferences. Not the boy in the shadows, reading books by candlelight. "But he's so powerful now," she said. "Because someone gave him a chance when he didn't expect one," Mrs. Patel replied. "Just think about that." Anna thanked her quietly and left. That night, instead of studying, she sat in bed staring at the cracked ceiling. Something inside her had shifted. But what still lingered was the fear. Was this real? Or was it just a test? Elsewhere in the mansion, Alex sat alone in his study, sipping a glass of water, not wine. His fingers tapped lightly on the desk. He'd made the offer on instinct, something he hadn't done in a long time. Usually he calculated everything, but this was different. He remembered the look on Anna's face when she asked, "Why me?" It was the same question he'd once asked a mentor, an old professor who had seen something in him no one else did. That moment had changed his life. And now, for reasons he couldn't fully explain, he felt a pull to pay it forward. But even as he thought of this, something else crept in. A whisper of a memory. Name. Evelyn. He hadn't thought about her in months, maybe years. Evelyn had once been someone like Anna. Bright, determined, quietly resilient. She had worked in one of his first startups. Late nights, coffee-stained notebooks, big dreams. But things hadn't ended well. She had disappeared without a trace after a sudden fallout. No one asked questions. No one cared to. Except him. And he still didn't know why it haunted him. The next day, Anna was called again. This time to meet someone else. A woman in a gray suit, sharp-eyed and efficient. She introduced herself as Clara, Alex's personal assistant. She handed Anna a folder. "Mr. Reed asked me to help you apply for the foundation scholarship. You won't need to pay for anything. Not tuition, not supplies, not housing. But there are some forms you'll need to sign." Anna's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Felt too official. Too serious. "I haven't even said yes," she said softly. Clara didn't smile, but her voice wasn't cold. "He knows. But he wanted you to see what saying yes could look like." There was a contract, timeline, a list of colleges she could choose from. Even a page about a potential internship at one of his companies, if she passed the first year with good grades. Anna sat there, reading slowly, her mind trying to keep up with the speed at which her life was suddenly changing. But buried in the back pages, she saw something odd. Small line. A clause about disclosure limitations and conduct expectations. She pointed to it. "What does this mean?" Clara glanced at it. "It's standard. Just means while you're on the scholarship, you can't speak to the press or post anything about Mr. Reed or his businesses. He prefers privacy." Anna nodded slowly. It made sense. But still, something about it felt heavy. That night, Anna went back to her usual spot in the storage room. She didn't study. She just sat with her books in her lap, unsure what to feel. And then a note slipped under the door. No name. No handwriting she recognized. Just 6 words. "Not everyone survives the offer twice." Anna's blood ran cold. She ran to the door, flung it open. The hallway was empty. She turned the note over. Nothing on the back. Was this some kind of warning? A joke? A mistake? She hurried to the senior staff quarters, hoping to find Mrs. Patel. But she wasn't there. One of the younger maids told her she'd gone out unexpectedly after a call from the city. Strange. She never left without telling Anna. Anna walked back alone, gripping the note tightly. She didn't sleep that night. Somewhere deep in the mansion, behind layers of locked doors and private floors no staff had access to, Alex stood in front of a shelf. He reached behind a row of old design patents and pulled out a small box. Inside was a file, worn, labeled in red ink, Evelyn K. Morales, and beneath it, a second file, untouched, blank, waiting. But this time it had a new label, Anna F. Santos. He closed the box slowly, the room filled with a quiet tension. Some offers, he knew, came with a price, and some prices were still being paid. The next few days moved like fog for Anna, thick, strange, hard to navigate. On the surface nothing changed. She still polished floors, folded linens, served breakfast with a careful smile. But under that quiet routine, something was stirring. She kept the note hidden in the pocket of her coat, reading it in secret over and over again, as if the words might shift or disappear. Not everyone survives the offer twice. She didn't know what it meant, or who left it. But it had cracked something open in her chest. Fear, maybe. Or doubt. She hadn't signed the scholarship forms yet. Clara had followed up once, gently reminding her that the deadline to apply was coming. But Anna had only nodded, avoiding the topic. The excitement that once fluttered in her chest now felt like a weight pressing down. One evening, as she walked past the library with a tray of coffee for the senior staff, she saw something strange. Alex wasn't alone. A man in a dark suit sat across from him, his back to the door, tall, still, and strangely quiet. They weren't speaking, but the air in the room felt tense. Alex leaned forward, flipping through a folder with photos clipped inside, none of which Anna could see clearly. She paused just long enough to hear one sentence slip through the door. "She looks too much like her." Then silence. Anna walked away quickly, heart thudding in her chest. Later that night she climbed to the attic, the only place in the mansion no one really used anymore. It was dusty, full of old trunks and broken lamps, but it gave her space to think. She took out the note again. Not everyone survives the offer twice. She wondered, who was the first? And what did survive mean? She thought again about Mrs. Patel. She still hadn't returned. No calls, no messages, and that was deeply out of character. Anna decided to search for answers herself. The next morning she made her way to the basement, pretending to be on inventory duty. Hidden in a tall cabinet full of paperwork and old schedules, she found the master staff record, kept since the mansion first opened. Flipping through the pages, she looked for one name, Evelyn K. Morales. There she was. Employed 2017. Position, administrative intern. Assigned to the office wing. Last noted presence, October 3, 2018. Then nothing. No resignation. No termination. Just a blank. Anna took a photo of the page and returned everything to how she found it. That night, she searched the name online when no one was watching. But there was nothing. No social media, no news, not even an old address. Like the woman never existed. Which only made Anna more certain that she had to find out what really happened. At the same time, something else was happening on the other side of the house. Clara was in the office with Alex again, holding a new file in her hand. "She hasn't signed," she said, her voice low. "She's hesitating," Alex replied. Clara didn't blink. "You're pushing her toward a path she didn't choose." Alex stood at the window, looking out over the gardens. "She's smart. She reminds me of Evelyn in more ways than I expected." "That's not necessarily a good thing," Clara said, laying the file on the desk. "You know how this works. You can't pick and choose how people grow when you place them in the middle of your world." "She deserves more than floors and laundry," Alex said quietly. "And you think dragging her into them, is better?" Clara asked. Alex turned slowly, eyes cold now. "It's already in motion." Meanwhile, Anna's search led her to the local library during her next day off. She asked about Evelyn Morales, hoping maybe someone had come through the system with that name. After some digging, the librarian found a printed news clipping from 2019. The article was short, buried deep in the city archives. "Young woman missing after alleged company dispute." Evelyn Morales, 23, was last seen near the headquarters of Reed Tech, where she worked briefly. No foul play suspected. Case remains open. Anna stared at the yellowed paper. Reed Tech, Alex's first company. The article didn't mention much, but what struck her most was the last line. Family declined to comment. Anna didn't know Evelyn, but she felt a strange pull toward her story. Like the two of them were connected by invisible thread. Back at the mansion, things continued as if nothing was wrong. Alex hosted a charity dinner. Photographers came. Guests in evening gowns filled the halls. The mansion glowed with music and laughter. Anna served glasses of sparkling cider, smiled politely, and nodded when people spoke to her. But inside she was unraveling. She saw Alex speaking to a woman in a red dress, laughing like he didn't carry secrets in boxes with names written in red ink. She wanted to scream. Ask him why Evelyn vanished. Why Mrs. Patel disappeared without a word. Why someone warned her with a note. But she said nothing. Just kept her head down. That same night, as the guests left and the mansion quieted again, Anna went to her room and found something waiting on her bed. The scholarship folder. But this time it was open. And the contract inside was signed. Her signature. Perfectly matching. She gasped. Flipped through the pages. She hadn't signed anything. Someone had forged it. Her door creaked open behind her. She turned quickly. Clara stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Congratulations," she said calmly. "You've been accepted." Anna backed away. "I didn't sign this. I didn't agree." "You did now," Clara interrupted. "And everything that comes next is yours to carry." Anna shook her head. "You can't force me. You've been chosen, Anna. Just like Evelyn. And whether you like it or not, there's no going back." The door clicked shut as Clara left. Anna's hands trembled as she stared at the contract. And in the distance, she swore she heard something. Not a noise. Not exactly. Felt like something moving beneath the surface. A current pulling her in. A whisper from the walls. She didn't know where the path led. But she knew one thing now, with terrifying clarity. This wasn't just about school. This wasn't just about second chances. This was something else entirely. And she was already inside it. Anna couldn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, the forged contract open beside her. Her thoughts tangled like wires sparking in the dark. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. Someone had signed her name, sealed her future, and locked her into something she no longer trusted. And Clara, so calm, so controlled, had delivered the news like it was already written in stone. Like Anna's choices didn't matter anymore. But she still had questions. And if no one was going to answer them, she'd find the truth herself. The next morning Anna acted normal. She served breakfast, cleared plates, answered Clara with her usual soft, "Yes, ma'am." But inside she was already planning her next move. She needed to see that file. The one Clara left on Alex's desk. The one with Evelyn's name. At noon, when the house was quiet, Anna slipped away from her chores and made her way to the east wing. Most of the rooms there were off-limits to staff without clearance, but she had learned the rhythms. When the guard made rounds, when the housekeeper left keys on the hook. She waited. Then slipped inside. Alex's office was massive but cold. No clutter, no warmth. Just hard surfaces and secrets. The drawer she needed was locked, but Anna had learned something from watching the staff over time. The second drawer in the cabinet, left side, always had a spare key taped beneath it. She reached for it with shaking hands. Blick. The drawer slid open. Inside, a black file with two names stood out. Evelyn K. Morales. Anna F. Santos. She opened hers first. Photo. Her photo. Not from her application, but taken in the mansion. One from her first week. She didn't even remember being photographed. Notes followed. Test scores. An analysis of her handwriting. Medical records she never gave anyone. And at the bottom, a red stamped line. Candidate for Program A17. Behavioral consistency. 92%. Emotional response within tolerance. Her stomach dropped. She opened Evelyn's file next. Pages were torn. Some names blacked out. But one stuck out. Candidate rejected from Program A17. Behavioral deviation noted. Emotional breach. Critical. Outcome, unresolved. And beneath it, scribbled in someone's handwriting. Last seen October 3rd. Removed at 2:13 a.m. Anna couldn't breathe. This wasn't just a scholarship. It was a program. One that tested people. Measured them. Pushed them. And Evelyn had failed something. Broken some rule. Anna stepped back, clutching the files, and then froze at the sound of a voice behind her. "You weren't supposed to see that." She turned slowly. Alex stood at the door. Alone. He looked different now. The charm was gone. His face was blank, unreadable. "Why?" she whispered. "Why me? Why Evelyn?" He walked forward slowly, hands in his pockets. Because people like you matter more than you think. You come from nothing. You survive anyway. That's rare. That's valuable. Valuable for what? She snapped, voice shaking. Some test. Some experiment. It's not an experiment, Alex said, almost gently. It's an opportunity. But not everyone handles it the same. She held up Evelyn's file. What happened to her? Alex paused. Where is she? Anna pushed again. She left, he said. You're lying. There was a flicker in his eyes then. Maybe guilt. Maybe something else. But he didn't deny it. I tried to help her, he said softly. But she didn't want it on our terms. Anna backed away. I don't want it either. I never asked for this. You were never in danger, Anna. Not unless you break the contract. Like she did. He stepped closer and she saw it now. The control. The calm mask he wore like a second skin. But I didn't sign anything, she said. You did. He didn't respond. Instead, he turned to the desk, picked up a small device, something like a pager, and pressed a button. In less than a minute, Clara entered. Take her downstairs, he said, eyes still on the window. She needs orientation. Clara didn't blink. Understood. Anna tried to run, but Clara was faster. She grabbed her wrist, not hard but firm enough to make it clear. This wasn't a request. Anna screamed, kicked, begged. But there was no one around to hear. She was led down a staircase behind the east wing, one she hadn't even known existed. It twisted down in silence, the lights dimmer with every step. And then they reached a door. Cold. Ill. Marked only with one word. Observation. Clara swiped a card and the door opened. What Anna saw next made her heart freeze. A corridor lined with rooms, each sealed with glass. Inside people. Young people. Quiet. Dressed in plain clothes. Some reading. Some writing. Some just staring blankly at the wall. No one looked scared. But no one looked free either. They're scholars, Clara said. Like you. Anna turned to her, voice barely a whisper. You're keeping them here. They're being trained, Clara replied. Educated. Shaped. And if they leave? Anna asked. They can't, Clara said simply. That's the cost of the opportunity. Anna wanted to scream. She wanted to hit the walls, shatter the glass. But her body felt like stone. This is wrong, she whispered. Clara didn't answer. She only led her to a new room, not yet occupied. Single bed. Desk. Glass wall. Someone will come by with your schedule, Clara said. Don't fight it, Anna. You're smarter than that. The door closed behind her. Anna sat on the bed, staring out at the hallway. And just as the silence closed in, someone appeared on the other side of the glass. A girl. With tired eyes. A small scar above her eyebrow. She mouthed a name. Evelyn. Anna jumped to her feet. Pressed her hands to the glass. The girl mouthed one more word. Tip. Then she disappeared into the shadows again. Anna stood there, breath catching, heart racing. The mansion above her was a lie. The scholarship was a trap. And whatever they had planned for her, it wasn't about education. It was about control. And she wasn't going to wait to be reshaped. She was going to find a way out. Anna didn't move for a long time after Evelyn disappeared down the hallway. Her mind was spinning, trying to process what she'd just seen. Evelyn was alive, but trapped just like her. That should have been a relief, but somehow, it only made the weight on Anna's chest heavier. If Evelyn had been down here for years, what did that mean for Anna's future? How many others had come before her? How many were still here? Just waiting, surviving. She pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering Evelyn's name, hoping maybe she'd return. But the corridor outside remained empty, silent except for the low hum of distant machinery and the faint buzzing of overhead lights. Time passed in a slow crawl, and Anna's thoughts ran wild. She wasn't just fighting for her future anymore. She was trying to escape a system built to trap people like her, smart and ambitious but vulnerable. She turned toward the desk in her room, searching for anything. Paper, pen, even a clue. Inside the drawer, she found a schedule printed neatly, with blocks of time labeled observation, cognitive enrichment, and behavioral feedback. Each session had a time, a room number, and a name. The last block of the day chilled her. 21:30. Conditioning Protocol A17. Her file had mentioned A17. She sat back slowly, the paper trembling in her hands. Something was happening behind the scenes, something far darker than lectures or tests. She wasn't just being watched, she was being conditioned, prepared for something. And Evelyn had tried to warn her. That night, as Anna lay in the bed staring at the ceiling, the lights dimmed automatically. But she stayed awake, waiting. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the same time Evelyn had been marked as removed, she heard the faintest knock. She bolted upright. A whisper came through the vent in the wall. "Don't speak. Just listen." Her heart raced. "Evelyn." "No. But I'm here to help you. I used to be where you are. Got out. But not everyone did." Anna crawled toward the vent, pressing her ear close. "There's a door at the end of the corridor," the voice continued. "Behind it, there's a service tunnel. It's your only way out. But the system resets at 4 a.m. If you're not past the checkpoint by then, you'll be locked in for good." "Why are you helping me?" Anna whispered back. "Because someone helped me once. And I didn't listen. I don't want you to make the same mistake." Anna's hands were shaking. "What's the conditioning protocol?" There was a pause. Then, "It rewrites who you are. Your memories, your fears, your loyalty. Once it begins, you'll never really be yourself again." Anna's chest tightened. Before she could ask anything else, the voice said, "I'll distract the night guard. You have 15 minutes. Go." Then silence. Anna stood quickly, throwing on the plain shoes they'd given her, stuffing the schedule paper into her pocket. Her hands trembled as she stepped into the hallway. The doors were all closed. The corridor stretched out in eerie stillness, every step she took echoing too loudly in the quiet. She passed several rooms, each with figures inside. Some sleeping, some awake, staring blankly ahead. None reacted to her presence. It was like they were frozen in place, controlled. At the end of the corridor, she found the door. Cold steel again. She looked around for a keypad, a scanner, anything. Nothing. Then, from the left wall, she spotted something barely visible in the dark. A small fingerprint scanner. She reached out, breath held, and pressed her thumb to it. Red light. Access denied. She backed away, heart pounding. Then the lights above her flickered, and a new alarm began to chirp softly in the distance. Someone knew she was moving. She turned to run, but just then the steel door hissed and opened. Standing in the doorway was Evelyn. But her eyes were different now, colder. Her body stiff. Her expression blank. "Evelyn," Anna whispered. Evelyn stepped forward slowly. "You're not authorized for this sector." "Wait, no, Evelyn, you warned me. I saw you." "I don't know what you're talking about," she said in a voice that wasn't quite hers. "Return to your room. Protocol begins soon." Anna stared in horror. It wasn't a warning Evelyn had given her earlier. It was a glitch. A moment of clarity from someone already broken. Evelyn stepped closer. "You will be escorted now." "I'm not going back," Anna said, backing away. "I don't belong here." Evelyn's eyes flickered, just for a second, and her hand hesitated. "Evelyn, please," Anna said, softer now. "They did something to you. You have to remember who you were." For a moment it worked. Evelyn blinked rapidly, head tilted. I was going to law school. I was." Then her body jerked like a switch had been flipped. "Return to your room." Anna had no choice. She bolted past her, diving into the steel tunnel behind the open door. Alarms blared louder now, footsteps echoing down the hall. She didn't look back. The tunnel was dark, narrow, and freezing. Pipes lined the walls, and every few feet there was a blinking red light. She followed the narrow path, slipping through tight turns and ducking under rusted metal beams. Somewhere behind her, she could still hear doors slamming. Voices. Orders. They were coming. After what felt like forever, she came to a fork in the tunnel. Upat. One led to a small staircase marked, Maintenance Access C. The other was darker, unmarked, but something in her gut told her it was the right way. She turned down the unmarked path just as a voice called out behind her. Anna! Stop! It was Alex. His voice wasn't shouting, it was calm, cold like always. You don't understand what's at stake, he said. You think this is about you. But it's bigger. We need people like you to survive what's coming. She didn't stop. Anna, he called again. You don't know the full story. Evelyn knew the risks. You will too. She didn't turn around. And just as she slipped through the last bend of the tunnel, another light appeared up ahead. But this time it wasn't red. It was daylight. Real, honest daylight filtering through a grate. She pushed toward it, heart racing. But then, just as she reached it, a shadow appeared in the light. A new figure. One she'd never seen before. Bill. Eyes hidden behind mirrored glasses. And the moment their eyes met, she realized something chilling. He was waiting for her. Like he knew she'd come. And she understood in that instant that escaping the mansion wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something much, much bigger. Anna froze in place, staring at the man blocking the only visible exit. His face gave away nothing, expression flat, lips pressed into a hard line, those reflective glasses hiding whatever thoughts lived behind them. For a second she thought maybe he was one of them, another handler, another gatekeeper sent to drag her back. But then he did something that caught her completely off guard. He spoke her name. Ana Fernanda Santos. You made it further than most. His voice was low, steady, but not threatening. More like curious. He stepped aside, just a little, enough for her to glimpse the edge of the outside world behind him. Trees, wind, the hint of sunlight on stone. Who are you? Anna asked, not moving. Are you with them? I was, he said. A long time ago. Anna narrowed her eyes. So what is this place? What do they want with us? The man studied her. It started as a scholarship. Years ago. Real one. But when they realized what kind of talent was coming in, kids who'd survived poverty, abuse, war, they saw a chance to build something more. Something controllable. Controllable how? Anna demanded. Behavioral engineering. Loyalty through learning. Fear hidden as opportunity. They called it Program A. You were in the top tier A17. The ones most likely to obey without even knowing you were being shaped. Anna clenched her fists. So that's it. We're just test subjects. You were, he said. Until you broke the pattern. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Why did you leave? He hesitated, then pulled off his glasses. For the first time, she saw the wear in his eyes, the kind that came from watching too much and staying silent too long. I saw someone I cared about disappear into that system. Just like Evelyn. And I realized, no outcome they offered was worth losing who we are. Anna stepped forward slowly. Is Evelyn gone? She's still there, he said, voice low. But not the way you remember. They erased her piece by piece. The fact that she remembered enough to warn you means there's still a part of her fighting. A heavy silence fell between them. I can get you out, the man added. But once we go, there's no turning back. You'll be hunted. They don't let loose ends walk away. Anna swallowed hard. Then we take Evelyn with us. He looked surprised. That won't be easy. I don't care. I'm not leaving her behind. Something flickered in his expression. Maybe regret, maybe respect. He nodded once. Then we do it tonight. I know a way back in. But we only get one shot. That night, Anna returned to the mansion not as a maid, not as a student, but as someone ready to burn it all down. The man, whose name was Daniel, led her through a forgotten delivery tunnel on the far edge of the estate. Hidden security gaps, old access codes. He knew the weak points. He knew where the watchers watched and where they assumed no one ever would. As they slipped into the lower levels, Anna's heart raced. She kept seeing Evelyn's face. Blank, confused, lost, and the flicker of who she used to be. It wasn't too late. It couldn't be. They reached the observation corridor just past 2 a.m. The guards were thinner this time, thanks to Daniel's timed signal scrambling the cameras. They moved room by room until they found her. Evelyn was sitting on the edge of her bed, staring at her hands like she didn't know what they were. Anna tapped the glass gently. "It's me. I came back." No reaction. Anna's voice cracked. "You remembered me before. Please remember me now." Evelyn blinked. Something shifted in her eyes. She stood up slowly, uncertain. Daniel hacked the door panel while Anna waited, breath tight in her chest. When the door slid open, Evelyn didn't run. She walked slowly toward Anna and stopped inches away. "You shouldn't be here," Evelyn whispered. "I'm not leaving without you," Anna said. Something deep inside Evelyn sparked again, an emotion breaking through the fog. She nodded. "Okay," she said. "Let's go." They moved fast, sticking to the shadowed routes Daniel had memorized. But they didn't make it far. An alarm blared. Voices echoed down the corridor. Clara's voice. "They've breached corridor 4. Do not let them exit." They ran. Evelyn stumbled, Anna caught her. Daniel led the way, barking turns until they reached the outer tunnel. Almost there. Then a figure appeared at the end of the path. Alex. He stood there calm like always. Unshaken. "I warned you," he said softly. "You don't know what you're risking." Anna stepped forward. "I know exactly what I'm doing." "She's not who you think she is," Alex said, nodding toward Evelyn. "She volunteered for the program. The first to sign. She asked us to take her memories." Anna froze. Evelyn looked down, confused. "He's lying," Anna said. "He has to be." Daniel pulled Anna back. "It doesn't matter anymore. We get out. Now." But Evelyn didn't move. She looked between them, torn. I don't remember. What if it's true?" Anna grabbed her hands. "Then you still deserve to choose. Not be programmed. Not be trapped." Evelyn hesitated. Then took Anna's hand. And they ran. Alex didn't follow. Later Anna would wonder why. Maybe he'd finally seen something he couldn't control. Or maybe deep down he wanted them to win. They burst through the last grate into cold morning air. Anna collapsed into the grass, gasping, Evelyn beside her. Daniel followed, sealing the grate behind them. They had made it. They were free. But just as Anna turned to thank Daniel, he was gone. Vanished into the woods like he'd never existed. And in his place, tucked under a tree root where he'd been standing, was a small black notebook. Anna picked it up and flipped to the first page. "Phase 2 begins now. Watch them. They'll lead us to the others." Her blood ran cold. This wasn't the end. They were part of something even bigger than they thought. And someone else was already watching. The air outside the estate felt heavier than Anna had imagined. It wasn't the weight of fear anymore, but the kind of pressure that comes when you realize freedom doesn't always bring peace. The trees rustled above them, whispering secrets only the wind could carry. She sat beside Evelyn, the small black notebook clutched tightly in her hands, heart still thudding from their escape. They had made it out, but the story was far from over. Evelyn leaned against her, silent but present. For the first time in days, her eyes held something like clarity, like the fog inside her was slowly starting to lift. Anna didn't know how long that would last. Maybe the damage was too deep. Maybe pieces of her best friend would always be missing. But they were here. Together. Breathing. That was something. Anna opened the notebook again, flipping past the first cryptic message. The pages were filled with names, dates, notes written in Daniel's neat, careful handwriting. There were other students, other programs, people who had vanished quietly, erased and rewritten. Some were marked with a small red dot. Others had check marks beside them. One name had a star next to it, Anna's. He felt sick. It hadn't been a coincidence. Daniel hadn't just found her. He'd been watching, waiting. Maybe protecting her, maybe guiding her, but always watching. She turned to Evelyn. He knew everything. Even about us. Evelyn nodded slowly. I think he was trying to do what he couldn't before. Make up for something. They spent the night in an abandoned cabin half a mile into the forest, where Daniel had left a small bag of supplies. Water, food, even a prepaid phone. Evelyn fell asleep almost immediately, curled up under a threadbare blanket. Anna didn't sleep. She stayed up reading the notebook, page after page. The more she read, the more she understood. It wasn't just about controlling students. It was about shaping the future. Choosing who got power, who got knowledge, who was allowed to lead. The program had quietly placed its graduates into key positions. Companies, governments, media. Trained not just to succeed but to obey. A new kind of elite, designed rather than discovered. Anna had been meant to be one of them. Her curiosity, her intelligence, her willingness to adapt. It wasn't just a personal trait. It was data. Measured, tested, approved. But somewhere along the way, she'd broken from the pattern. And that made her dangerous. By morning, she had made her decision. They couldn't hide forever. Running would only delay the inevitable. But if they could speak out, if they could find the others like them, those who were lost, those who'd woken up, maybe they could expose it all. Maybe truth could do what escape couldn't. The first step was getting help. Real help. She made the call to a journalist she remembered from a news story about corruption in elite boarding schools. Anna didn't give her real name. Just enough to spark interest. Enough to get a meeting. 2 days later, Anna and Evelyn were in a quiet cafe in the city, waiting. Evelyn had changed. Not fully, not magically healed, but more awake. She asked questions now. She smiled sometimes. She even laughed when they passed a street musician playing off-key. The shadows in her eyes were still there, but they didn't control her. The journalist arrived. A woman named Rosa with sharp eyes and a gentle voice. Anna handed her the notebook and explained everything. Not all at once, but slowly, carefully. Rosa didn't interrupt. She just listened, took notes and asked for proof. Anna showed her everything. Video snippets from the mansion, student rosters, Evelyn's old records. When they were done, Rosa leaned back and said, "If this is true, it changes everything." "It is," Anna said. "And it's still happening." Rosa promised to start digging, to use her connections to verify and protect them. But she warned Anna too. "You need to be careful. People who build systems like this don't just let go. They don't like being exposed." Anna already knew that. But she also knew staying silent would be worse. Over the next few weeks, things began to shift. Rosa's article went viral before it was even published. Teasers, whispers, online chatter. Former students started reaching out. Some shared similar stories. Some denied everything. Others were scared. But the truth had a way of finding cracks. Clara and Alex vanished from the mansion's official records. Their names were scrubbed from databases. But Anna knew they were still out there, hiding, watching, planning. She could feel it. And Daniel, he never showed up again. No emails. No messages. Just silence. Anna wondered if he'd finally walked away for good. Or if he was still working from the shadows. Evelyn began therapy with a specialist who worked with trauma survivors. It was slow, painful progress. But it was progress. Anna stayed with her, refusing to leave until she was strong enough to stand on her own. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the rooftop of their small apartment, Evelyn turned to her and said, "You know, I remembered something." Anna looked at her. "What?" "The night we met. You were reading by the hallway light, and I brought you tea." Anna smiled. "You asked if I believed in second chances." Evelyn nodded. "You said yes. You said every person deserves one." Anna reached over and squeezed her hand. "I still believe that." Months passed. The mansion eventually shut down under renovation orders. But Anna knew that wasn't the end. There were more programs, more places like it. Quiet, hidden, dressed up as opportunity. But there were more people like her now, too. Survivors, fighters, whistleblowers. They were organizing, connecting. The silence was breaking. Anna went back to school, not under a secret program, but a real scholarship she earned on her own. She studied psychology and ethics. She wanted to understand how systems manipulated people, how to protect others from it. It wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about building something better. And even though the fear still lingered, shadows on subway walls, strange emails, voices that made her spine tighten, Anna walked forward. Because freedom wasn't just about escaping a place. It was about choosing who you become afterward. And in that choice, Anna found her real power. Not as a billionaire's maid. Not as a perfect student. But as someone who saw the truth. And refused to stay silent. She had been caught at 2 a.m., yes. But what happened next? She rewrote the story. And that shocked everyone.